Expanding your horizons.
Thank you. Good morning. Good. Are we all wide awake, alert, enthusiastic? Well, I want to start out. I actually have volunteered at this event through AEW in the past, so I want to start out by thanking the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, Sandia Laboratory, Diablo Valley College, and the American Association of University Women for sponsoring this event, because it takes a tremendous amount of time and effort and volunteers to make this event such a success every year. So can all of you give them a round of applause, please? And I'd like to acknowledge another elected official, Doug, if you'd like to stand up. Doug Warner, who's Vice Mayor of Buchanan. Also a tremendous supporter of education and the labs and science, and a supporter of this event. So, how many of you like math and science? I see quite a few hands going up. I loved math and science when I was a kid. I mean, it was something that just was second nature to me. It was easy. The more I took, the more I loved. When I was in high school, though, I had a friend who I used to tutor in math because she struggled. And she worked probably twice as hard as I did to understand math, and she would get a C, a C+, or a B-, but she worked incredibly hard to do that. Well, when I saw Marcella at our 10-year high school reunion, she said, "Remember how I struggled in math, Joan?" I said, "I certainly do. We spent many hours together." She said, "Well, I don't know what happened, but when I got into college, it all clicked." And Marcella was the head of all the non-human. She became an engineer. She was in charge of all the non-human experiments in the first space shuttle that went up into space. So my challenge to you today is to see as much as you can, to have fun. The science and math should be fun for you to enjoy what you're doing. But also when you go back to your schools and communities, reach out to those kids who struggle a little more. Because science and math is going to be important for all of us. I was at a workshop on telecommunications the last 2 days with leaders in the industry, people from back at FCC in Washington, D.C. and others, who were talking about policy. Science and math is going to be embedded in all the technology and everything we do. And it's important for everyone to have an understanding. And you not only can find careers that are enriching and rewarding for you, but you can reach out to others and help them understand science and math and help enrich them in their lives. So have fun today, and I want to congratulate everybody on what I know is going to be an outstanding conference again. And I'm just pleased to be able to share a few minutes with you this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody awake? I got up at 5:45 for this. It doesn't happen very frequently. Well, I welcome you. I'm very excited about this morning, and I'm very excited that you all have this opportunity to be here today. My mother even came up to visit, so she could be present for this talk as well. So I'm a little nervous, not because of you all, but because of her. So wish me luck. They have parents here too. So when Nadine asked me to give this speech last year, actually it was true. I was in Antarctica at the time. I'd planned that vacation for 3 years, so I apologize. But to your benefit, I'm here today. And I was asked to give this talk about the future within your grasp. I do believe that this was part of those things, basically to insinuate that I'm actually a hand surgeon. So grasp, hand surgeon, you get the gist. Next slide, please. So when I was asked to give this talk, I wasn't quite clear, and I was a little bit busy, and I was thinking, well, what can I do to inspire these young ladies? So I thought to myself, what does expanding your horizons mean? Next slide, please. So if anything, I thought it was an opportunity. So I had to look up an opportunity. What does the opportunity mean? And an opportunity by Webster's is a favorable juncture of circumstances. For example, the halt provided an opportunity for rest and refreshment. Or a good chance for advancement or progress. Keep that in mind. Next slide, please. And then horizon, expanding your horizons. Well, what is it? It's the line in which the Earth's surface and the sky appear to meet. This picture is actually from Africa. So this is from Zambia. This is Zambezi River. So just a little FYI. Next slide, please. So with the horizon, what is exactly the horizon? How do we have to deal with it? What exactly is it? So the early explorers were curious about it, like Columbus and Magellan. You all remember these guys. And they thought, well, what's beyond this horizon? How do I get there? And they had many questions when they're thinking about these things. For example, is the path to horizon dangerous? Do I have the right skills to navigate and get there? Next slide. Am I prepared? Next slide. And can I do it? Thankfully, they were courageous enough to try, or else I guess a lot of us wouldn't be here. So what qualities do these explorers have that helped them to discover this new world? Well, they had courage, persistence, curiosity, and they also believed in themselves that they actually could do this. So what's there next to explore and discover now that the whole world is mapped out? We got science, which is why you're here. Next slide, please. So I like to think that I'm an explorer of sorts. So the question then becomes, well, how did I expand my horizons? Well, where am I now? And then how did I get here? So you'll kind of see how my little life mapping has gone so far. I am an orthopedic surgeon. So orthopedic surgery, which is my practice, handles conditions related to the body's bones, muscles, cartilage, joints, ligaments, and other connective tissues. So basically, the outside of the body, the arms and legs. More specifically, I, though, am a hand surgeon. So I fix anything that needs to be fixed from the elbows to the fingertips. Don't ask me to look at your shoulders, that's way out of my field. So I take care of babies to grandparents, I fix broken bones, I sew up cuts, and I even put fingers back on. So you've heard about people cutting their fingers off, I put them back on. I know it's gross, but I actually enjoy it. I see patients in the office, I fix people in the operating room. I was asked to actually put up an operating room picture, but I thought it might gross some people out, so I skipped that part. So then how did I become a hand surgeon? What exactly got me here? A lot of school, a lot of schooling. So high school, as you know, 4 years in general. Then I was in college for 4 years, then medical school for 4 years, then residency, which is training for 5 years for orthopedics, and then to go to hand surgery was an additional year. So it took 14 years after high school to get me to start working. Remember that part. So then how did I get from grade school to being a hand surgeon? Well, like the explorers, the road was a little bumpy. This is a picture of my brother and I. I grew up in Long Island in New York with my parents and my older brother. And we did all sorts of the usual fun things that kids do. We went to school, I learned how to play the piano, how to sing, play soccer, tennis. Sometimes I wasn't quite paying attention. So as you can see, my brother and I were in some kind of class and neither of us were looking. Don't do that. Pay attention, girls. And back in the day, I had an opportunity. My parents signed me up for a weekend science class at a local college, very similar to this one. I can't believe I'm actually giving this talk. At this class, I learned about computers and chemistry. Way back in the day, for those parents out there, it was BASIC. Remember BASIC, the language? Yeah. So that's what I learned. And then there was this problem-solving class, and I thought, well, this class sounds easy. I couldn't be more wrong. So I specifically remember this question. So keep in mind, this is about 30 years later. Here are 6 matchsticks arranged to form one equilateral triangle. Can you arrange the 6 matchsticks to form 6 equilateral triangles? You might get the answer. Dun, dun, dun. Next one. So I figured out I had no idea what I was doing. And I also figured out that I was not the smartest kid in the class either. So things had come a little bit easy for me before, but now I was in this class, I was going, oh, well, maybe I have to work at it a little bit. So when I was there, I learned that I needed to put some effort into the learning experience. I actually had to study. But I was inspired by the way the other kids worked in these classes and to see how they learned and how they went through the thought process as well, and thought, well, maybe I can learn something from these other people. And I had an opportunity to get better, and I was going to take it. So same question. So how do you rearrange these matchsticks? Next slide. So you have to make 2 smaller triangles and overlap them. I'll put this up again for you later, just in case you're curious. Next slide, please. So then how do you reach the horizon? From my perspective, you have to study and you have to learn and retain what you study. So how did I get from grade school to graduating from medical school? Next slide. Oh, that was a picture of my mom, by the way. It wasn't the straight and narrow path. It was not the direct route where I just went in one direction. Next slide, please. So I grew up in New York on Long Island. My father passed away actually when I was 14, so that made life a little bit challenging. And then also when I went to college, my family moved. We went from New York to Ohio, so I didn't know anybody. It took a little while for me to get situated. And of course, you already know that it took a long time to get to the actual working process with school, 14 years. So at the age of 32, I know it seems like a long way for you guys, but it comes quickly. You're actually working. So when I was young, the adventure was that I wasn't clear that I actually wanted to go into medicine. I had lots of jobs growing up. I was a florist, I worked at a pet store, video store, babysitting. I even worked at SeaWorld. I was Dolly Dolphin. And often, I was the only girl in the group. So when I was playing soccer, like I know many of you probably do, I was on a co-ed team. I made it co-ed. I was the only girl on the team. In medical school, only 30% right now are women. In residency, which is the training that you do once you're done with medical school, so you still have to train some more before you're allowed to work on people, I was one woman out of 14 guys. And then now in orthopedics, 1 out of every 20 orthopedic surgeons are women. So there's not a whole lot of orthopedic surgeons to begin with, but only 5% are women. Next slide, please. So I'm often asked, is it difficult to be the only woman in the field or one of the rare women in the field? The answer is no. Actually, it doesn't make it any different to me. If you study hard, if you challenge yourself to do well, you're going to do just fine. The next question is, am I done learning? No. I'm also inspired by people every day. So my patients inspire me, my friends inspire me, my family inspires me. I'm still very curious as to what's out there, and I'm still wondering what's on my horizon. So how do I explore now? In addition to learning more about medicine, I also like to run, as Nadine had mentioned. I travel a lot. I really enjoy traveling, and I like to take pictures. So I'm always open to new ideas. So these you can hardly see as usual with PowerPoint presentations, but these are some pictures of me from my running adventures. I ran the Greece Marathon a couple years ago, Sydney, Antarctica, and onto the upper right corner, my friends and I always do the Big Sur Relay, just a fun race to do. Next slide. Different locations where I've just been. Antarctica's in the upper left. I climbed the City Harbor Bridge, upper right side. I love to scuba dive. And I just climbed the tallest peak in Africa, called Mount Kilimanjaro this past summer. 19,546 feet. Y'all remember that. It wasn't easy. Next slide. And these are some of the pictures that I took. So this is one of my hobbies, is taking pictures. Next slide, please. So how do you expand your horizons? Don't be afraid to try something new. You never know what you're going to find that you like to do. Be very curious. Experiment a little bit. And as somebody told me once, you got to start somewhere, so don't be afraid to try. And how do you get to your destination? Study, learn, and utilize what you learn. You're going to have great opportunities today, so I hope you'll be able to use this again in the future. So today, ask some questions. I had a little sneak peek at your schedules today. Maybe you can find out some information for me. How do you make your fingerprints bolder? So you're going to learn about dusting for fingerprints, I believe. Since I wash my hands so often in surgery, I actually have very bad fingerprints. You can hardly see them. So when I get fingerprinted, they don't really get them that often. So how do you make it actually bolder versus taking them away? If you all can build a robot that can clean my house, I'd really appreciate that. And then how come I sound better when I sing in the shower and when I sing in the car? Is it because nobody else can hear me? Or is it just me? So one of my favorite coaches, Lou Holtz, I actually went to Notre Dame, said this quote once: "I can't believe that God put us on this earth to be ordinary." So girls, work hard, have a great time today, and enjoy what you're doing. You have lots of chances to learn a lot of really fun things. Thank you.
What motivated you to be that career?
To be an orthopod or, okay. I knew I was going to get asked this question. So the young lady asked, what motivated me to get into this career? So to be a doctor, I think was more to take care of people, because I really did enjoy that. And I was always interested in the sciences. My mom teaches science. She's actually a chemistry teacher. My father was an engineer. So there's a lot of science involved with my family. But once I started getting into medical school, it was a little bit different. There's actually so many different things in medicine you can get into. Orthopedics, it was really just being able to work with a hammer, believe it or not. I'm a very hands-on person, and I do enjoy it. So motivate me to get here, it was just fun. You learn a lot on the way, and so the more I learned, the more I wanted to do it. Any other questions?
Did you realize that you wanted to be a doctor?
The question was, I don't know if anybody can hear me. Sorry. The question was, when did I realize when I wanted to be a doctor? When I was in college, I actually thought I was going to be an engineer. So I realized I wanted to be a doctor probably my last year of college or just before. So it took a little while to get there. So I did a little bit of experimenting ahead of time. So you got plenty of time.
And I think we have time for one more question, and Dr. Burgar will be here after the presentation, so feel free to come up, but I know you do need to get to your workshop.
Did you ever feel bad because somebody else told you to do something?
Nope.
So the question is, did you ever feel bad that you were asked to be a doctor and maybe you wanted to be something else?
I never felt bad about choosing my career or my path. My parents were supportive, but a lot of people thought I'd do other things. So one of which was being an engineer. I was very stubborn. So you have to learn how to cordially say, I'd really like to do what I'd like to do, but you have to push yourself hard too. So no, I did not feel bad about choosing what I did, especially since I had a couple people that did want me to do something else.
Okay, thank you so much for your attention. She will be here during the morning session, so if you have additional questions, that would be great. Thank you, Dr. Burgar.
Expand!